Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. No, it's still morning. I'm sorry. I already started off wrong, huh? You know, J&T here for another episode of our old school tips. How you living, brother?
Oh, I'm living. I'm
Is
living.
that
I'm
right?
alive.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Hey, from our last show to now, 13 days of health and feeling good. Feeling good.
Well, that's a good thing, right? That's a positive thing, right? Because unfortunately, I'll start off. I'll be remiss. A couple of us, some of us didn't make it. So,
Yep.
Mr. Chadwick Boseman, saw that last night. It was terrible. Uh, so love and condolences to his family on that 43-year
No
young
doubt.
man that we lost. But today we are going to finish our conversation because we seem to have sparked a good chord, I think, with our listeners and viewers about finance, right? It's one of those
We
conversations that you
did.
don't talk enough about that you probably should talk about. Some folks don't know where to begin, where to start, how to address whatever their situation is. So we're back for round two. Let's get it going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Get a
Hey,
little
before
shouts
we,
out
hey,
from the
be,
EP.
oh, look at Jess. Jess,
A
she's
little
on her way
shouts
to get
out
a
from the.
coffee. Saying hi.
You can bring some up this way. I'm only about 60 miles away from you. You could bring a little something up this way.
Hey, before we jump in though, I do have to say when you think about finance and money and all that, I understand that a young man in your household is about to break behind the wheel of a car
About.
and potentially could cost you a little bit of cash. A new car, insurance, and all this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
shouts out to Isaiah
Yeah.
for getting that
So
permit, getting that permit,
so
permitted to get
so
in trouble.
yeah. So you want to start like that. That's a pro and a con. There's positives and negatives of that because yes, he passed his test. He's behind the wheel. He's already been
Yeah.
out a couple of times by himself driving to school. So loving that fact. Just to pick up some books and all. But yeah, added him to the insurance,
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, added him. Let me tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of the
Teenage
budgeting. Part of the
male
budget.
in California, the number skyrocketed. I won't go into precise numbers, but I would tell you what, be ready for it. Any of you parents out there who have teenager, 16-year-old male that is getting ready to jump behind the wheel, it's going to cost you a little something, something.
You got a budget. You got a budget for it. You got a plan for it. Thank God you didn't get him an FZR 600. A motorcycle or something. It'd be like
No,
five
that's not gonna
times.
happen. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But and again, and I guess it's also depends on what you put them behind, right? So yeah, it's going to cost more to put a 16-year-old male driver on the road in California, but then again, the ride that he's riding is probably not the typical ride that a 16-year-old going to school would be driving. So there was slightly a little bit more for that. So yeah, we're you get what you pay for, and yeah, we planned for it. But yeah, when I saw the number come down off of Geico, I was like, oh my. Oh, I
Yeah,
was like,
but look at what Pops just put up there. I mean, probably the first thing he did was took Grandma to lunch, right?
that's
I
what he did.
mean,
That's what he
that,
did. They went out and got some ice
that,
cream, I think. Yeah.
that's priceless right there. There's nothing you can put a price on it in that way. Although Grandma's probably shaking in her boots in the passenger seat.
I'm sure. I think she did put the seatbelt on just a little bit tighter, but it's all
Oh,
good. No, we yeah
snug.
we proud of him. Yeah, Isaiah's doing a good job and taking hold to this distant learning thing and has passed his test. So that's all good. Let's get into it, brother. Let's get into it. So, finance part two. We talked on a number of subjects last time, and you know, uh, everything from trading versus investing, kind of dollar cost averaging. I'm a technology guy, so I had to bring up apps that I use to manage money and to manage a budget. I mean, you still do the Excel spreadsheet thing and have that down pat. That's what you do, right? Pivot tables and everything, and it works. You see, like you say, I'm a true bill and a mint kind of guy, but to each their own. As long as you're doing something consciously, right? I think it was kind of what we wanted to make sure that we left the conversation with last time. So this time we were going to talk about. So tell me, where do you want to start? Because we got a ton of topics and they all kind of feed off of each other. But where would you like to start, young man?
Um, I think we need to wrap up FICO. Because I
Okay.
mean, it's so important that we talk about Fair Isaac for a second. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about it in a joking manner where I had mentioned to my kids how important that number is and the benefits you gain from having a good one
Yeah.
and some of the struggles that you encounter having a not so good one, right?
Hmm.
And I think you had mentioned it before, all I want to say to people again is pay attention to it. And I have an I can't remember what it's called, like identity theft protection program.
Right.
I pay $6.99 a month for it, or
Hmm.
$7 or something. And I get alerted when stuff goes haywire, or if I apply for a loan, it pops up. But
Yeah.
I can pull my bureau every 30 days
Hmm.
and take a look at it. And I do it on my calendar every 30 days. I've got that set, and I pop that thing up and I check it out, make sure I'm clean, because the FICO score has to be managed just like your money. I mean,
Hmm.
you've got to know what triggers it. I mean, don't get crazy and try to get that perfect score, because you never will, because the
Right.
algorithm doesn't allow for the perfect score. But you had mentioned last time, pay your bills on time, get some history built. Manage your credit limits relative to how much you owe. That's a
Yes.
big
That's the
factor,
huge
right?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So those are the three things to keep
Yeah.
in mind. Pay on time, make sure you get some history built, and make sure that your usage versus your available credit is at a good ratio and not too high, because then lenders look at you and say, wow, they're stretching themselves towards the
Yeah.
top of that, and stuff like that. So again, very
Yeah.
boring, but very
Relevant,
critical.
but relevant.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so that ratio is 30%, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know, because again, I'm pretty analytical, watching that as well, and I know that total ratio for or of credit usage is that they want is no more than 30%, and that's one of those high impact figures when they look at FICO. History is incredibly important as well. And I've actually learned over time that, yeah, you may pay a credit card off, but there's more benefit to you to maybe hold that card, don't close it, right? Because and just have that, like you've got that old Wells Fargo account that you said that you've had ever since you started working for the organization, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
20 plus years, you've got that card open showing that payment history. And then as far as pulling your bureau, now do you pull all three, or do you just pull TransUnion, Experian? Which, or how do you do it?
It's what I have is, it's called enhanced identity theft, which it
Hmm.
pulls all three for me, and it
Okay,
gives me
okay,
all three scores and all three in parallel next to each other. And you can do it free too at what is it? Free annual freecredits.com,
yeah.
or
A lot
whatever
of the
that is.
credit card, but see, a lot of the card holders will allow you to pull the free one, but it's not as accurate as when you pull the one that you do have to pay for it, right? It's not as
Right,
accurate as
right,
that. So when
right.
it comes to lending, because there's different levels of risk. So for like a home mortgage or for a car loan or something like that, there's different levels of risk that those institutions will pull from. And if you're just pulling the free one, it may show you at 720, but you pull your real TransUnion score, it shows you at 685 or whatever, right? Because it takes
Yeah.
into all the factors, and it actually does that hard pull. So that's something to keep in mind. It's good to get a ballpark view of your credit using those free services. But if you can go ahead and enable that, go ahead and pay for some of those pay per subscription services. They'll actually allow you to pull every 30 days without taking a hard hit, because you don't want the hard
Yeah.
hit on your credit. The soft
Well,
inquiries,
yeah.
they don't look as good right? And they're less impact. But anytime you do a hard hit, right, and you apply for credit, you try to increase the balance or increase the amount that you have on a particular card. Those hard hits are the ones that actually start drawing your numbers down, right?
Yeah, no, it does. And it's, hey, Gloria, thanks for jumping on. I see Heather's on too. Wow, all right. So the hard, okay. So you bring up a good point because hard hits are a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not a big deal. They don't hit you for 10, 15, 20 points, but they'll hit you for a few points. So you have to be careful about just going out and applying for everything and anything. And what I've done, because they fall off after 24 months. And so what I've done is if you're going to go do something, you might as well do a multiple of things. So what I did was when I applied for my refinance in February, I went out and got another card or kind of tack on because in 2 years they're going to fall off together. And that's called management. I mean, you've got to manage it just like everything else. But there's also, so that's the fourth one, actually, the hard hits, soft hits, that's important. But one thing that is misunderstood is people think that if I charge the card and pay it off at the end of every month, that's going to help my score. And it doesn't. It has no relevance to a score. So just keep that in mind. If you have a card, it's open, it has a zero balance, anything like that still continues to pay dividends.
What I think does though assist and give you a couple of nudges in the positive direction is if you pay that card before the due date, right?
Yeah.
So before they pull that that interest rate, that interest fee, if you could, if it's due on the 14th, and man, if you can pay it on the 13th or the 10th, make that payment then before they actually make that pull on your credit card. So,
yeah. Are you trying to transition to paying down debt? Is that what you want to talk about?
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost like we planned this. I don't know what's going on, Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to transition to another topic. Look, you got questions. First of all, we see you. Look, I got 5 screens going right now. I see folks are watching from multiple locations, so thank you for that, for joining us. Please, if you got questions for us, we are just spitting some knowledge, some old school knowledge too. That is, bring them up. We are all here to learn. I'm feeding off of this guy. This is the guy who's the expert in this particular field. So I just know enough to be dangerous and from my mistakes and my missteps, but have gotten back on the right path. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about debt. Let's do that. But first, what better to talk about on a Saturday morning than once. I mean, here's what I'm talking about. You talk about me being the only reason why I'm an expert, so to speak, is because I practice, I study it, I learn about it. But every single Saturday, I wake up and I monitor and I look at everything, right? So I pat myself on the back, I beat myself across the head for a bad purchase or whatever. But I would say that debt is tough. I mean, it's tough to manage. And you want to talk about paying it down. There's a couple schools of thought. I'm going to give you my school of thought. First of all, nobody writes checks to pay down debt. So that's old school. Nobody writes checks to pay down debt, right? They just said transfer from checking to credit card. But that is old school, and we still do it too. We still write a few checks here and there to the church. But
I just wrote a few checks this morning, so so I sure did.
Exactly. But there's really 2 schools of thought, and we talked last time about emotion and peace of mind and things like that. And let's say it's pretty common sense to say, let's say I have 2 credit cards and I'm trying to pay both of them down. Yeah. One's at 5,000, one's at 1,000. And the interest rate is higher on, say, the 5,000. So people would say, okay, flood money to the $5,000 card and pay minimum on the 1,000 because you're paying off the higher interest card quicker and letting the lower interest card just work itself out until you get it. And then when you pay off the $5,000 card, if you've been putting $200 on that, take that 200 and don't go to Starbucks or Pete's. Take that 200 and apply it to the payment you were paying on the 1,000. That makes total
Yeah.
sense. So that, to me, that's common sense. But for whatever reason, when I read
Yeah.
magazines, people just don't get it. So you have to sit down, put it on paper, and figure out a way to chip away. When you pay off the 5,000, go celebrate, buy yourself something at Nordstrom, whatever. Take yourself out to dinner. Congratulations. But there's another school of thought.
But pay cash if you can.
Well, yeah, pay cash for sure. But there's another school of thought that is interesting, because this is kind of how I lean a little bit. Is it's also a mental thing. So to me, it's like, I do want to pay that high interest credit card off, but what's the difference? Is it 1%, 2%? Is it $10 more, whatever? Because there is something to be said mentally about paying something off.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it's like, if you get $1,000, are you going to put it on the $5,000 card and get it to 4 and still have 4 and 1,000? Or are you going to take that 1,000, pay off the 1,000, and then just have the one card to focus on? That gets in your head, right? Where
Yeah.
you feel good about getting something done. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my
No, that's a great, because literally that was me 2 days ago, right? I mean, and I won't go too much into detail, but I'm in sales, just like a lot of folks in the world are. So you get that extra little deposit every other month that comes in, and decent chunk. So I'm looking at what's out there, what's remaining still to be paid. And I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and knock these 3 that still had balances on it. Boom, knock those all out. And that was my focus, right? Because with that extra bit of money, I said, let me go ahead and knock these recurring debts on a monthly basis out, so we can be better positioned moving forward with liquidity and things of that nature. So I do both schools of thought, right? Again, I'll try to hit that one that's got that higher interest rate, knock that one down at least, and then also every other month I'll go and just bang out and knock down the anything that's got a balance on it. So and you get. I think what we're saying, folks, is be conscious about what you're doing. Have a plan about it. Don't just go about it. When the statements come in the mail, open it up and look at it and say, okay, I'll wait and I'll pay the $20 minimum. That's never going to get you out of the cycle, right? Of credit debt and raising that FICO score, because it may not want to agree to it, may not want to believe it, but that number follows you forever. And hopefully the youngsters that are listening and watching will understand that. And look, we remember when we started college too, that first week, what they call 0 week or whatever, you walk up and down the aisle. Everyone's there. MasterCard's there, Visa's there, Discover's there, trying to pass you out a application to apply for a card. Look, you're 18 years old. You're on your own for the first time. You're going to get all those applications and get the little free blanket that they're going to pass out to you or whatever. And you start setting yourself up for maybe a bad situation, right? If you don't have that mindset of being focused on your financial goals. So. All right,
right.
two old dudes, trying to talk to the youngsters. That's what we like. All this salt I got in here. I'm just, I'm the old Morgan Freeman. You're still the good looking one, though. Look at this guy.
Well, that is not true. But what you're bringing up though is really important, because the quicker you can learn it at a quicker age, the better off you'll be. And don't beat yourself up over that minimum payment that you have to make on a card because you're having a rough couple weeks. It's okay. I mean, stuff happens. Just keep disciplined and be patient. But what you just described with the youngsters and us is really what I term life stages. And it's decade by decade. And, when you're in your 20s, and this is in general, right? Because when I was in my 20s, I had children and it was a whole different story. But some people in their 20s who don't have children have a different story. But in general, in your 20s, you're trying to build, right? You're trying to get a job, maybe have a child, get married, have a child, whatever. But you're trying to do that. You don't have a lot of money, so you have to kind of borrow, and they give you small limits and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. Then you get into your 30s, and you've got it all. You've got all the darn credit cards you'd ever want. You start spending money left and right. You buy the third car, the fourth car, the fifth car. You churn them over. And the 30s is a sinful decade for finance.
And
it really is. And then when you're in your 40s, you're paying off the sins of the 30s.
Preach.
And
Tell the
right,
truth.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let me just lay it out. I mean, you're paying off those sins, and then in your early 40s, and then in your late 40s, you start to have a thought of, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. I didn't save enough. I don't have this going on. So then you start to accumulate. So from your late 40s until you retire is a huge accumulation stage. You're at your highest earning years of your career, and you've paid off your sins, and things are settling. The kids are likely gone or hopefully graduated from college, if in my case, and you can help to accumulate. And then in your 60s in retirement, maybe we can talk about this later, it's decumulation, where you have to figure out how to pull the money out. We can talk about that later. But life stages are critical, and just know that they are real. They are real, whether you like it or not. And those are just the general stages that people go through.
And I can almost guarantee that folks are hearing that and listening, saying, you know what, that's right. I had my first little job at wherever, it was, well, here was Burger King, right? I'm out there. Oh my goodness, J. Riggins and Oak Tree. I think I still got a couple of suits from there, or I don't think they fit anymore. The paisley tie, is that the one you got? They were all paisley ties. But, again, so those early years, you're out there, you get your first job at the mall or at the fast food joint or whatever. You're making your little $10, $12, $14 an hour, whatever the case may be. You're buying gas, you're buying some new shoes or whatever. You're not saving anything. You're right. I mean, it's just you're out there spending. A lot of folks, a higher percentage of people aren't saving, they're spending. So shouts out to the folks that were and are at that early age actually doing some saving as well. And then you're right, man. You get to 20s, you start getting a little more independent. And you say, let me go buy this Honda Civic off the lot. Give me a brand new one, air conditioned and everything, power steering and all. Let me buy that. 72-month financing. What?
Yeah.
How long do I got to pay for it? 3 years, 4 years? No, 72 months. Oh, yeah. But and then you start getting dependence, and you start getting reasons outside of yourself, right? You're not just buying top ramen to eat every night and Mountain Dew and pizza, right? You start maybe getting some kids, you start getting a significant other. So, all right, let me go ahead and take advantage of that IRA and that 401k investment plan at this company, whatever they're talking about. Let me maybe take advantage of that and put something aside.
It's funny you say that, because Grace and I were sitting in the backyard the other day. Finally, the smoke cleared, and we were able to sit back there and have a couple drinks, and we looked at each other, because we talk about money a lot. Just what's working, what's not, what do we have, what do we not have, what do we have to do? Is our trust in order? Do we have things all sorted out philanthropy wise? And my godchildren, I got you covered, godchildren.
Oh, shoot.
We were talking about all that kind of stuff, but one thing we thought of was, people in their 20s and 30s look at people like me in 50s and 60s and like yourself, and say, you have a decent sum of money. So why don't you go buy that new car? Why don't you get that second home on the beach? Why don't you do this? And it's funny, like our credit limits are through the roof. Like I could go out, and because of 31 years of history, right, the companies trust me. And I mean, I could go out, buy anything I want, anything. And your priorities change when you get older. Yeah. Right? Your priorities change. It's just not important. My priority is my children, my family, my godchildren, and hopefully soon kids, grandchildren.
Oh my goodness, is that right? Oh my!
Well, no, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But it's
breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen.
No, there's no breaking news at all. But my point is that your priorities change to where you're like, look, I want to take care of myself. Grace and I want to enjoy life, because you can't just sit home and save every single penny.
True. Good point.
And then like our boy dies at 43, right? So you're going to
Yeah.
save every penny and
Yeah.
save all your vacation time and don't go anywhere, and then you die at 43. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not going to work. But
Yeah.
your priorities change. We realize that we don't want to go buy a house on the lake. We don't want to go buy a $400,000 yacht to go on the ocean. I mean, we just don't want that. I'm addicted to saving, and I'm addicted to investing because I want to enjoy the rest of my life until I'm not breathing any longer, and I
Yeah.
want to take care of the people that are important to me once I'm no longer here.
That, I mean, and that's the sign of maturity. That's the sign of, again, thinking outside of yourself. And again, I think that comes as we mature, right? Now, I'm not
Yeah,
going to say
yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
as we age, right? Because some folks reach that point of consciousness, not a point of thinking earlier in age than others, but it's a sign of maturity. And once you start doing more positive things for others and the folks around you within your sphere of influence, that's when you're successful. Like, that's the measurement of success. That's the measurement of you're living a good life. So I applaud you for that, brother, because I agree wholeheartedly. Right, take care of yourself, enjoy yourself, put a couple of bucks away, but you know what? Make sure that your generations after that are set up for success, and you be that catalyst, right, to mold all of that and put all of that into place. And I think that goes back to something that you just talked about as well, and we were going to talk about it. So it's funny how these topics are all falling into place about a trust.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know how important having something, a document, some type of power of attorney, a trust primarily. I mean that's what we have as well. But something that says this is what you, the state, you, the count, you are going to do with my assets in the event that something happens to myself, my spouse, whatever the case may be. I know you got a trust as well. But talk to us a little bit about what your thoughts on something like that.
Yeah, well, you talk about health and all that good stuff before, because a trust has multiple components to it. I was just multitasking and looking at my buddy Michael. My buddy Michael, good friend, had some skin cancer, and had it removed about a week ago,
Okay.
and they got it all. And so he's clear, feeling good. He wrote a message on LinkedIn about how important it is. He's a wealth advisor, very, very well to do. He's worked his butt off to get where he is. And he wrote in his LinkedIn, he said, quote, "Your health equals real wealth. Your health equals your real wealth."
Hmm.
And I think, we talked about that before, that you can't pay anyone to get rid of something that's wrong with you, right? I mean, you can go get a
Yeah.
doctor, but you can't get rid of cancer, right? So anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about health because a trust has multiple components, and it's very important. It has a financial component which avoids taxes, right? So it clearly articulates what's going on, and you have to pay for it, right? And we're going to talk about paying for services, paying for identity theft protection, paying for a trust, paying for financial advice. We're going to talk about that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to pay for some of those things. You can get it for free. We'll talk about that too. But anyway, you pay for the trust. We paid like $3,000,
Man.
and we had our trust built, and an attorney did it. But it talks about how to pass down money, how much
Yeah.
money I want to give to the family, how much money I want to give to my godchildren, how much money I want to give to philanthropy, and all that good stuff, and when, and timing, and all that. So don't get me wrong, it does a great job avoiding some tax ramifications and clarity for the courts on what
Yeah.
you do. And again, I'm not a trust attorney, but I mean, I know about them. But it also talks about health directives, right? And so
Yeah.
this isn't a
Yeah.
health conversation, right? But it's a
Mm-hmm.
combination of how to manage your finances and a health directive and what to do as you get older and potentially get sick. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of trusts or wills. Just give direction to what the people you're leaving behind need to know about. And that's what I want to do. And Grace and I talk about this often, is when we go, we don't want anyone to be burdened. We don't want anyone to have to think about it, right? So I told my kids who own the trust, I said, if something happens to us, you call this guy and he will take care of everything. And I think, and that's important, right? Grace's
Yeah.
mother, when she passed away, there was nothing to do. The woman is a godsend. I mean,
Yeah.
she, bless her heart, rest in peace. She passes away. The kids don't have to do anything. She has it
Yeah.
all lined up, detailed, disciplined. It doesn't matter if you have $10 million or $100,000. I mean, discipline and those types of things go a long way. So anyway, that's my trust push.
No, I mean, and again, I think that's incredibly important because again, at that time, right, there's already stress, there's already anxiety. You're shuffling through old drawers and everything, maybe looking for some paperwork or whatever the case may be. And what's interesting is my dad always has this conversation. He's made this statement, right? If anything ever to happen to us, here is the information, the guy to call, right? And everything's all laid out, everything's all taken care of. So again, that burden, that worry at that particular time is something that the family doesn't have to worry about. So exactly, that's a great point there, Julian. Right, trust, avoid,
No, he's right.
So,
I mean, you
right.
just waste money on trying to distribute because, and it's not the probate's fault. They have to charge a fee. It's if you don't give direction, then somebody has to do it, and you're just doing it in advance. And they're tough conversations, right? That you have your burial lot. Well, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not dead. Well, you want to talk about it because when you're dead, you need to figure it out.
There's no talking then, right? There's no talking then.
Yeah.
And this is one finger pointed out, three fingers pointed back at me as well. I've got 90% of that conversation, at least for me particularly, at. So in terms of where I'm going to go, that kind of thing, I'll probably be distributed somewhere in Mendocino or Fort Bragg. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll figure that out.
That's our spot. That's our spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe when I go there, maybe when I go there in a couple of weeks, who knows? That'll be my I don't know, my last one, and we'll see what happens. No, I won't say that, but
but to your point, you need to have a plan. 90% at your age, I'm all for it. I mean, most people are at 10% when they're dying, right? So I mean, you're so far ahead. And I always say, we talked earlier about don't just save and never go enjoy life, never go out to eat, never go on a trip, never do anything. Because once you get older, it's harder to travel, it's harder to enjoy it. And I like this quote that I had, live every day like it's your last, and one day you'll be right.
Oh,
live every day like it's your last, and one day you'll be right.
You can put that on a t-shirt. That's a good life lesson right there, man.
It is. Now, it doesn't mean go frivolous and go crazy because, you could say, oh, well, my last day is going to be next week. Well, now it's 40 years from now, so you screwed up, right?
I'm leaving this up here. Shouts out to Mr. Eric Burks there and the BIG, Burks Insurance Group. He's got the family business going, so he, his daughter, his wife, I believe now have their licenses. So we may reach out to Burks Insurance Group. EB. Yeah, EB. Right. I love it. Love to see you doing good things, brother, especially keeping the family together and making that generational wealth, building on that generational wealth. So that's good stuff.
Yeah. I agree. Hey, one thing that happened to me, I mean, Grace is right too, right there, where you've got to have all that duck in a row too, about if you've got children, who's going to take care of them and all that good stuff. Katie takes care of Alex, so we've got that covered. Check the box. Thank you, Katie, for taking care of him.
Keeping him out of trouble, he's doing a good job so far. But take care. Look out for our guy.
And I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the board, but I got to get back to something. In the last 13 days, something happened to me financially that I wanted to share. I monitor our accounts twice a day.
Okay.
And call me crazy, but I check it in the morning just to see how things are all shored up. and then I check it again after 8 o'clock at night Pacific, because the credit card companies then kind of load in any transactions that show pending. Just FYI. But I monitor. I only use one credit card, so I monitor that thing like crazy. And one night, Grace and I sit on the couch, 8 o'clock. I pull it up. She said, "How we looking?" I said, "Not so good. What the heck is this $785 charge to skincare.com? What is that?"
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, "I don't know. I don't even know what skincare.com is." So I immediately called the bank, and they shut the card down, and they returned the fee to skincare.com. And if you don't, like me and Eric, I mean, if you don't monitor it all the time, you have to manage things all the time. And it's not a greed thing, and it's not, anything more than just understand what's going on.
Right.
That charge would have hit if I didn't look at it till I decided to get my statement in the mail or online. The charge would have been there for 30 days, and the bank would have said, "Well, what are you doing? I mean, it's there for 30 days. What are you talking about?" So anyway, that was a big deal. We haven't had that happen in like 6 years, but that was a big deal. So monitoring yourself and owning it is important too.
Now, does the service that you subscribe to provide some type of account monitoring as well? Okay.
No, it's credit monitoring. It's not account. They don't monitor yet.
Okay. Yeah, because the folks that I work with, they actually will monitor unusual transactions, right? If something we've been traveling before, and the bank has called me and said, "Are you really in Mexico?" Yeah, I am. That is me buying all of this cerveza on the beach. Okay, so I get.
When did you go to Mexico without my invitation?
This was long time ago, before the masks and before everything was locked down. I don't know what. I think you were invited. You were on a ship somewhere. You were probably on the other side of the ocean. You were in the Atlantic Ocean. I was in the Pacific Ocean. So what are we gonna do?
Fair enough.
But yeah, so those kinds of things, right? The services that I have will actually, if they see those type of rogue or interesting charges appearing on your account, they will notify you. So that's always a good thing as well. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, but James, and this is funny. And Eric's right. We have to monitor. We have to manage. Eli made a point that Eli gets text message notifications of charges over a certain amount, probably. Mm-hmm. There are a ton of tools you can use. My point is, you have to manage it and own it yourself. And that's what I do. But here's the thing: is some companies that are declining people, being declined now doesn't have that stigma that it used to have before. Oh, James got declined because he's over his limit and he's frivolous. No, James got declined because he's in Mexico and forgot to tell his bank that he's in Mexico, right? It was his fault, right? But it's funny because our company really struggles with the fine line of monitoring, because we get a lot of clients that get extremely frustrated with that. Here's an example. Grace and I were remodeling the house. We had to buy a new stove, and we had the lady process the transaction. I don't know how much it cost, and she did it, and it was done. I'm out with my buddy Scott. Grace and I and Scott Winslow, hopefully you're watching, Scott. We're having some wings at B-Dubs, and my card gets declined. And I'm kind of embarrassed, but I'm like, man, I got like a huge limit. What the heck? So then I had to call, and they're like, yeah, well, we had this transaction that occurred at this appliance store that was done, and so we kind of froze it until we could figure that out. And I'm like, thank you, but it's also frustrating.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me know that you've done that, right? For one thing, right? Yeah. It's all good to put the hold on my account, but let me know, because again, I'm out with my buddies here, and Yeah. Another thing that's going on too that people need to keep an eye on is contactless stuff. So, what do you mean?
I've been a huge Apple Pay guy, PayPal guy.
Yeah.
Like I don't swipe cards. I don't use cards. I don't even bring a card. I bring this here. and I hope you can take it, because not everybody does. By the way, we were at
Yeah.
Steinmark the other day and we tried to do it, and they go, "No, we don't have it." That's why you're going out of business.
What's that newfangled thing you're trying to do? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but here's the problem with contactless is, well, there's not a problem with contactless, because actually it's safer than using your card, because it creates and generates a new number every time. It's people are just going boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop, boop,
It's easy.
in and out.
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, it's easy.
Right. And so when we talk about monitoring and managing, you keep an eye on it, man, because they're like, "Do you want a receipt?" "Nope." "Do you want a receipt?" "Nope."
Yeah.
"I got gas. I got this." And then all of a sudden I look at my card. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm at $985." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So from a management perspective, just be careful with this technology, with getting a little over your skis.
Well, you're wearing the Apple Watch now too, right? So literally, you can just put your watch up there, go into your coffee shop, right, and just put that up there, QR code or whatever, up to the NFC reader, and you've made the transaction. So it's very easy. Convenience is it has its pros and cons as well. Yeah, but so I think the moral of that story, as you say, is just stay in tune with what you're everything in life, right? Stay in tune and stay focused on where your debits and credits are, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Speaking of credits, so this morning I'm sitting out having a cup of coffee.
You got a lot of things happening to you. Like this week. What's going on?
No, everything is about money. I mean, and again, I hate to say that, but it's like everything you do, every conversation, everything. It's like, do I go to the beach house? Is that too expensive? Do I go here? Do I get a new car? Do I get a house? Every conversation is about money, good, bad, and indifferent. And I'm sitting out there having a cup of coffee, and I get this message from Amazon, and I'm all for Amazon. Those of you that don't like it, but I love it. And so I'm looking at it, I'm going, wait a minute, they returned something because it was undeliverable. And they said I'd have my $15.10 in 3 to 5 business days, and Friday was business day 6, and I don't have it. So this is Tim. I don't have to worry about $15.10, but guess what?
Oh, you're going to check in on it. Oh, you're going to check on it.
I worry about $15.10. You bet I worry about $15.10. Okay.
You calling Jeff Bezos directly. You got him on speed dial.
Well, him and I are close, but so I just sent a little, and I chatted with them. Took like 30 seconds. I chatted with them and said, "What's going on?" They said, "We returned it because it was broken in shipment." So in shipment, I guess the screen got broken. They sent it back and they said, "Apologies, it'll be in your account on Monday." Right. So this isn't an Amazon commercial. It's more around managing $15.10. Okay, $15.10 goes a long way. So anyway, you could have neglected, not paid attention to that notification you got, and like you said, 3 days, 6 days have gone by. Something could have happened. They could have forgot to process the transaction. It could happen multiple times, and just imagine how many times across Amazon, the ecosystem of Amazon, that something like that happens. Right? Yeah, so true. But again, money isn't everything. It's the only thing. No, I'm just kidding.
No, another T-shirt right there.
That's a greedy quote. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, but money isn't everything. Let's be honest. But I think the conversation is everything, and managing and monitoring that we've been talking about is very, 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 very true.
You are setting yourself up here because the family is just on you, brother. They know you like I know you, and $15, $5.
No, Grace, this is Grace. I mean, I've created a monster because trust me, early in our life stages, she was incredible. I mean, I caused our problems early on. She was a very good manager of her money. Her mom taught her well, and she had no debt. She used cash. She had a paid off car. I mean, she was solid. And then I came into her life and ruined it all in the 20s. And then we had credit and debt. We were paying our MasterCard with our Visa and trying to float and all this other stuff.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
It was crazy. However, she is nuts, boy. She, which I love. I mean, she clips coupons and she finds deals. And she gets these rebates and she tracks them, boy. She has that rebate tracked. And on day 61, if that rebate isn't in her hand, she'll call and say, "Where's my rebate?" Because rebates are a scam. I mean, they wait for you not to respond, and then they they just keep their money. Like 65% of rebates don't get claimed. That's why they do it.
Well, I do know Grace turned me on to, what is it, Rakuten,
Yeah,
right?
Rakuten. Yeah, yeah,
So I whenever I'm shopping online or whatever, and I downloaded the app, and I've gotten a handful of little checks coming through, or little PayPal deposits. So appreciate you, Mama, on that. Appreciate you for.
yeah.
Well, there's another platform called Honey too, and I use that when I'm shopping online at Amazon because it'll watch price fluctuation. So Rakuten for that 20% off or 20% cash back for like Target or something, whatever. Right? You're buying online, and then Honey when I'm on Amazon. So I love
You
that
got to
stuff.
take advantage of all the credit card rewards. I mean, Jessica, she says, I want my money back. She does want her money back, but she's also very diligent about discounts and finding coupon codes online. Katie, Alec's girlfriend, same thing, does that really well. Alec and I aren't really that good at it. We're good at other things, but we're not good at that. So Alec and I need to get better. But Jessica and Katie and Grace are really good at all that stuff. Anyway, hey, speaking of kids, so I
Yes.
gotta, I've got to brag about something real quick, and then it's gonna result in a point that was made. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
we bragged about
We're gonna
Isaiah.
talk about. We're gonna talk. I was gonna say we're gonna talk about the new manager who on the East Coast, and I thought we were gonna talk about that gentleman too.
Yeah,
I don't want to give out company names without your permission, but go ahead.
no. So my son Alec works at CarMax, and he was an intern in high school, and then got on full time after. I mean, not high school, in his junior year of college, and then got on full time his senior year, and then has been at CarMax, I don't know, maybe 5 years. And they put him through a management program. Extremely proud, and he's trying to build his wealth to create peace of mind and safety in his life. Doesn't rely on dad, nor does Jessica. Neither one of them rely on me. And I'll just be frank. I mean, when I die and Grace's die, I mean, they're gonna inherit some decent wealth, but they don't care. They want to make it their own, right?
Yeah.
So Alec became a manager on Monday, and
Yes.
he got a huge raise.
Love it.
And guess what my first question to him was?
How are you? How much more are you? Are you at the 19.5 in your in your 401k? Okay. How much you putting into your retirement?
He goes, I don't know.
19.5. 19.5.
Congratulations. Yeah. So how much are you going to put towards your 401k? And he was pissed, right? He goes, well, I already do X, and I'm like, I'm trying to do this and that. And I just sat there and said, so how much is it going to be? And he is so good. I mean, he just said, hey, Dad, you're right. You're right. I need to do it before I get it, so I don't feel it.
Oh,
So
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he upped it, I don't know, 4 or 5%.
Nice.
And
Nice.
and he sent me back a text and said, check, I'm done, which is really cool. And Jessica's done the same thing. They hate me. I mean, they absolutely hate me. But they'll love me when they're 50, 60 years old.
When they're drawing on that, yeah.
Yeah. When they're doing that, you got that right.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Shout out. Congratulations, Alec, man. I saw the LinkedIn, and I think I either hit him up directly on there or I sent him a text message because definitely well deserved. Well deserved. Good man.
Yeah,
Good man.
yeah. And there's no quick way, James. We talked about it. I mean, there's no quick way to financial freedom. And that's what I call it, financial freedom.
Yeah.
Where you're not tied to the company. I think we talked about, you're right, Eric, they better say thank you. Where you're not tied it. And if we weren't on a computer, when we're alone, James, I'll tell you what the words are, but they're two words which you can tell your company when you've got enough money. Like if you won the lottery and you went to your company, what are the two words you would say? So you know what those words are, right? And so the goal is to get those two words locked down so you're not handcuffed to your company and you don't have to apologize, right? Because I'm going to say that over and over again. Don't apologize for wealth, and don't apologize because, Eric and I are on the same page with all this discipline, management, and focus. And I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what color you are. You can make this happen, and you can do it. And it doesn't matter as long as you've got a mentor, if you talk about it, and those types of things. But anyway, I don't know. I lost track of what I was going to say, but I'm like, I have a lot of
starting to get into
around.
no, but again, yeah, the passion. But I think the idea that I'm gonna pull out of that is don't be afraid, don't be ashamed, don't be hesitant. And I like the fact that you said you need to have a mentor, right? Because we don't all know, we know bits and pieces of everything, and that community that you build of like-minded individuals going for that same goal, trying to reach higher. Surround yourself with those kind of folks who are moving forward, not moving back, not stuck in the doldrums. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. Right, that's one reason why we started this. Right, you see it in the tagline of the show: "The world needs a hug." But if you focus on that small piece of the negativity, as opposed to the larger piece of what's really going on positive in the world and around you, you lose out. Right, you miss out. So focus on what's positive. Focus on moving forward. Focus on you, your family, your health. That's critical as well, because you can't do a lot of things if the body and the mind aren't able to progress. So you got to focus on that. But that have a mentor piece.
To your point, yeah. I mean, so we talked about it related to fitness, right? So we both enjoy fitness, and we talked about getting a trainer, right?
Yeah, man. I got my workout in today. 4 months finally. My gym just opened up. I got a little something. I'm gonna feel it in the morning, but that's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but so here's the thing. So let's just talk body fat and cholesterol levels, right?
Oh, that's a good one.
And then let's talk about weight. So you're running around. You're like, okay, hey, I'm celebrating. I hit my weight, but my body fat's still not where it needs to be. Same thing with finances. Hey, I paid off this credit card, but my car loan is still high, and I gotta get my cash flow going. It's the same thing. You can't just talk about. Well, first of all, you have to talk about it. If you don't talk about fitness, you're not going to go work out, right? If you don't talk about money, you're not going to get financially fit either, right? So it's all the same. And so I think you do have to talk about the pros and cons. You have to have a mentor. Like, you're my tech mentor. Like, if I need anything related to that, you help me set up my system in Virginia. You help me get through some things that I'm not good with. And those types of things. And don't be embarrassed about it. It is what it is. Let's help each other get better with it and move on. And sometimes it'll cost you money, whether it be paying $6.99 for identity theft protection, or I have to pay a financial advisor to manage my money. And some people
money well spent, right?
But some people don't think that, James. I mean, some people are like, well, I'm not going to spend $4.99 to do a trade, but you're going to spend $300 a month to have a landscaper. So you'll pay for a landscaper and a house cleaner, but you won't pay for financial advice. Makes no sense. And I'm not here to sell paying for a ton of advice if you don't need it. Call me, I'll help you for free. I don't care. But you know what I mean? It's like, you got to pay to get some good advice. And a good example is selling your house. You can go sell your house on your own, for sale by owner, and you're not going to get anything near what you can get if you had a realtor.
That's true.
So anyway, my passion around paying for advice around anything. Like I had mentioned, I'm not real good at real estate. I really don't like real estate, frankly. But I do have friends who are really good at it, so I talk to them about it, and they give me tips, and I still don't take their advice, but I still like to
you do the exact opposite of what they say. And I agree with you, because I know some folks who have built pools in their home on their own, right? Not having a professional contractor come out. And I said, no, I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to bring in a professional who knows about electricity, who knows about concrete, who knows about all those aspects. I can get a shovel and dig a hole in the ground, no problem. But all of those minute aspects of permitting and making it right, those kind of things, you get what you pay for. If you want something done in quality, sometimes you got to put in to get in, right? I mean, you got to actually put some skin in the game. So that's a good point, I think, that you talk about as well. Paying for value, paying for service is not something that you should be worried about. Yeah.
Yeah, and do your research, right? Because you're not just going to go hire any old contractor to come back and dig a pool, or you're not just going to go hire any financial advisor to give you advice. You want to find somebody who feels and like what you do, right?
Yep.
Somebody who has a similar handsomely for, but my returns are through the roof. I mean, he's my age, has kids my age. He's going to retire like when I want to retire. He's very conservative like me. I'm not aggressive. And so, you just have to find those types of people. If you're interested in learning and making more, you can't do it yourself. You can do it yourself from a budget perspective early on, but once you start to accumulate a decent sum,
Yeah.
people you need it. You need advice, and there's advice all over. And if you have time to do it yourself, have at it. I mean,
There you go.
I don't have time. I don't have time.
Well, brother, I appreciate you. Today was a phenomenal show. I think we took time to dive deeper into it. It was a much needed part two. So hopefully everyone enjoyed the conversation as well. I know I did. I took mental notes. It's always a pleasure to have this conversation. I just like seeing you, because I can't come hug you right now because we're all locked down. But
I have a face for radio.
yeah, it's all good, man. Anything before we head out?
No, I
got some daddy doos and some honey doos here that I probably need to.
No, I do too. I mean, the only thing I'd say is thanks for creating this platform of discussion. I think if we continue to talk about patience and talk about music and talk about money, and next time talk about travel,
Yes,
maybe
sir.
talk about health in the future. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's creating the dialogue. So just think of this like any other subject. Talk about it. Don't be embarrassed. Don't apologize for your success if you're disciplined and manage it.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this before. I'll leave it with a quote. I like to focus on what the failing person doesn't want to focus on. And if somebody's failing in finance, then I'm going to find out what they're not doing, and I'm going to go do it. And to the point where I just lost my earbud.
Damn.
I'm so happy.
You know what? Right then and there, mic drop, boom, we done.